Hello, this is Claire. I'm going to read you Dakota's narrative today, which goes like this. I discovered a letter Mom sent to my sister after she passed away, in which she said she never liked me and simply put up with me to get my money. Once you graduate, you can cut her out of your life completely, it said. After reading that, I severed all contact with my sister and refused to cover her tuition. All right, let's leave. I'm Dakota, and I'm now 30 years old. In retrospect, I believe that, while I was unaware of it at the time, my life began to unravel when I was 6 years old. My dad passed away in a vehicle accident at that time. He was in our driveway one day, teaching me how to ride my bike. The following day, Mom broke down in tears and informed me that he would no longer be returning home. It was just Mom and myself when Dad passed away. I believe she did her best, but she was coping with her own loss. Mom had to work 2 jobs to support us after we moved into a smaller apartment. I was either by myself or with babysitters a lot. After a long day, Mom would come home, cook supper, assist me with my schoolwork if she felt like it, and then pass out on the couch while watching television. The 6 to 12-year-old years were strange. Mom had a few casual relationships. On the weekends, she would get all dolled up, leave me with Mrs. Patterson from next door, and return either extremely pleased or really unhappy. I didn't stay with any of them long enough to form an attachment. There was always something wrong with them, according to Mom. Then everything changed when I turned 12. At her office job, Mom met Robert. Quiet and kind, he was an accountant with brown hair that was beginning to turn gray at the temples. The other guys weren't like Robert. He paid attention when I discussed school and posed sincere inquiries about my friends and academics. What do you think about Robert? After he had been visiting for a few months, Mom questioned me one evening. He's okay, I mentioned. And he was. He didn't put in a lot of effort or pretend to be my dad's replacement. Mom and Robert were married 6 months later. Robert's house was larger than our flat when we moved in. Robert assisted me in painting my own room purple. Mom informed me she was pregnant when I was 13. The prospect of having a sibling thrilled me. Emma, the baby's gender, was revealed to be female. I believed she was ideal, despite the fact that she was little, red, and frequently cried. But once Emma was born, everything was different. Because Robert was well paid, Mom stopped her work entirely and spent all of her time with Emma. Being the ideal mother to her new child became her obsession. She joined mommy clubs, read parenting books, and stared at Emma while she slept for hours on end. All of a sudden, I was completely Robert's responsibility. He was now the one who transported me to soccer practice twice a week, assisted me with my homework every night, and attended my parent-teacher conferences. Mom no longer appeared to notice me at all. Mom would yell, "Robert, you need to spend more time with Emma," if she saw him assisting me with mathematics. "Your daughter is her. Dakota can do her own homework," she would remark. Robert would gently reply, "She's struggling with this unit. It'll just take a few more minutes." Mom would respond, "Emma needs her father, too," while bouncing the infant. "You're always fussing over Dakota." In our home, this turned into a recurring dispute. Mom pretended that Emma was somehow being deprived of Robert's concern for me. Every time Robert assisted me with anything, I began to feel bad. This is how the years went by. Mom never resembled my biological parents as much as Robert did. I spoke with Robert while I was having issues at school. Robert escorted me shopping for new soccer cleats. Mom was totally engrossed in Emma's world by the time I was 17 and considering going to college. Mom treated Emma like she was made of gold when she was 4 years old. Emma's every action was remarkable and deserving of celebration. "Look, Emma drew a flower," Mom would exclaim as she held up a scrawled image to Robert. "She's so artistic." In the meantime, Mom would respond, "That's nice, honey," without actually looking, when I brought honor roll certificates home. Robert was the one who transported me to school tours, assisted me with application forms, and conducted my college research. Robert was ecstatic when I was accepted to State University on a half scholarship. In the end, he covered 30% of my tuition. 70% was covered by the scholarship, and the remaining amount was paid for with minor loans. Mom never volunteered to help out. Only Robert wept when I moved to a different city for college. After giving me a brief embrace, Mom added, "Call us when you get there safely." However, Emma, who was 6 at the time, simply gazed at me expressionlessly. "Say goodbye to your sister," Mom requested. "She's not my sister," Emma declared firmly. "She's just Dakota." Mom chuckled as if it were adorable. "Oh, Emma, don't be silly." Emma wasn't being goofy, though. She meant it. I had a nice time at college. At last, I was in a place where I belonged and where my opinions were valued. Every week when I phoned home, Robert was the one who answered. All Mom wanted to talk about when she picked up the phone was Emma. The phrase, "Emma lost her first tooth," according to Mom. Emma gained bike riding skills. At school, Emma made a buddy. She never once inquired about my academics or if I was making acquaintances. Only Robert appeared pleased to see me when I returned home for the holidays and summer vacations. Mom would be polite but distant. And Emma treated me like a stranger who happened to be staying in their house. "Why is she here?" Emma asked Mom once when I came home for Thanksgiving. "Because it's her home, too," Robert said firmly. "No, it's not," Emma replied. "This is our house." Mom just shrugged like Emma had a point. After I graduated college, Robert helped me find a job through some friends of his in the city. I rented a small apartment and started my adult life. I called Robert regularly, and we'd chat about work, current events, whatever was on our minds, but I stopped visiting the house much. Every time I went there, I felt like an intruder. Emma was a moody teenager by then, and she made it clear she didn't want me around. Mom barely acknowledged my presence. Only Robert seemed to care that I existed, and I felt bad taking his attention away from his wife and daughter. So, a few years passed like that. I had my routine: work, gym, grocery shopping, Netflix on weekends. I had a decent job at a marketing firm, a small but clean apartment, and I just bought my own place with a mortgage. It felt good to have something that was completely mine. Robert would call me every couple of weeks, and we'd talk for an hour about everything and nothing. "How's the new apartment?" he'd ask. "Did you get those shelves put up yet?" "Yeah, finally," I'd tell him. "Only took me 3 attempts and 2 trips to Home Depot." He'd laugh. "I could have helped you with that, you know." "I know, but I wanted to figure it out myself." These conversations were the best part of my weeks. Robert was the only person who seemed genuinely interested in my life. He'd ask about my job, whether I was dating anyone, if I'd made friends with my neighbors, normal parent stuff that Mom had never bothered with. I was 30 when everything changed again. I hadn't called Robert in a couple of months. Work had been crazy, and I was dealing with some issues with my mortgage company. But then my phone rang on a Tuesday evening, and it was him. "Dakota," his voice sounded different, tired. "I need you to come by the house this weekend. There's something I need to talk to you about." My stomach dropped. "Is everything okay?" "We'll talk when you get here," he said. "I love you, kiddo." He'd never said that before, not like that. I spent the rest of the week worrying. Saturday came, and I drove to the house with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. I hadn't been there in almost 6 months. The yard looked the same, but somehow everything felt different. Mom answered the door, which was weird because she usually made Robert deal with me. "Oh, Dakota," she said. "Robert's in the living room." I walked in and saw him sitting in his usual chair, but he looked terrible. He'd lost at least 30 pounds, and his skin had a grayish color that made my chest tight. "Sit down," he said, patting the couch next to his chair. "Robert, what's wrong?" I sat down and looked at him closely. He looked like he'd aged 10 years since I'd seen him last. "The doctors found something," he said quietly. "It's cancer in my blood. They're calling it acute leukemia." The room seemed to tilt. "What does that mean? Can they treat it?" He shook his head slowly. "It's aggressive. They can try some treatments, but..." He paused, looking down at his hands. "The doctors are saying I probably have a few months. Maybe 6 if I'm lucky." I couldn't breathe. No, that's not right. You're only 52. People beat cancer all the time. "Not this kind," he said gently. "I've already gotten second and third opinions. They all say the same thing." I started crying then, ugly sobs that I couldn't control. Robert reached over and took my hand. "I need to ask you something," he said. "When I'm gone, I need you to look after your mom and Emma. They're going to need help." Of course, I said through my tears. Of course I will. Emma's only 17. She'll be starting her senior year. And your mom? She hasn't worked in years. I don't know how she'll manage. I'll help them, whatever they need. He squeezed my hand. I knew I could count on you. You've always been so strong, so independent. But they're not like you. They're going to struggle. I stayed for dinner that night, which was the first time in years Mom had asked me to. Robert was too tired to eat much, so he went to rest in his room. Emma was there, which was unusual. Normally, she'd disappear to her room when I visited. So, Mom said, passing me the mashed potatoes, "How's work going?" It felt surreal. She was asking about my life like she cared, like we were a normal family having a normal dinner. "It's good," I said. "Busy, but good. I got promoted to senior account manager last month." "That's wonderful," Mom said, and it looked genuine. "You always were so smart. Robert's always bragging about how well you're doing." Emma was quiet through most of the meal, but she wasn't sulking like usual. She actually listened when I talked about my job and my new apartment. "Do you live alone?" she asked. "Yeah, it's just a one-bedroom, but it's mine." "That must be nice," she said, "having your own space." It was the most civil conversation we'd had in years. When I left that night, Mom hugged me at the door. "Thank you for coming," she said. It meant a lot to Robert and to me. After that, I started visiting every week. I'd spend Saturday afternoons with Robert while he got weaker and weaker. We'd watch old movies or just talk. Sometimes he'd tell me stories about his childhood or his early days with Mom. Other times, we'd sit in comfortable silence. "I'm sorry," he said one afternoon when he was having a particularly bad day. "For what?" "For leaving you with this mess. For not being around to help you figure out your life." "You've helped me more than anyone," I told him. "You saved me, Robert. I don't know what would have happened to me without you." He smiled weakly. "You would have been fine. You're tougher than you think." The treatments weren't working. Each week, he looked smaller, more fragile. But Mom and Emma seemed to be changing. Mom would sit with us sometimes, bringing Robert water or adjusting his blankets. Emma would come down from her room and actually participate in conversations. "I'm thinking about majoring in psychology," Emma told me one Saturday. "I want to help people." "That's great," I said, and I meant it. "You'd be good at that." For the first time in my life, I felt like we might actually be a family, like maybe Robert's illness was bringing us together the way nothing else could. He died on a Thursday morning in November. I got the call at work from Mom, who was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. "He's gone," she kept saying. "He's gone, Dakota." What am I going to do? I left work immediately and drove to the house. Mom was sitting on the couch, crying into a tissue, while Emma rubbed her back. When I walked in, Emma ran to me and hugged me tight. The funeral was hard. Mom cried through the entire service, and Emma was devastated. After we buried Robert, the three of us went back to the house. It felt empty without him. "I don't know what I'm going to do," Mom said. "He took care of everything, the bills, the insurance, the mortgage. We spent all our savings on his treatments. We're basically broke." "Don't worry," I said. "I'll help however I can." And I did. I kept my promise to Robert. I sent Mom $1,000 every month for utilities and groceries. When Emma needed things for school, I bought them. When their heating system broke, I paid for repairs. "I don't know how to thank you," Mom said during one of my visits. "You're saving us." "I'm so sorry for how I treated you all these years. I was a terrible mother to you. I want to make it up to you now." This was completely new, Mom actually apologizing and seeming to care about me. Emma was different too. She'd tell me about school, ask for advice, complain about her friends like sisters do. "I can't afford a nice prom dress," she mentioned one day, looking sad. "Let me buy it for you," I said. "It's your senior year." I spent $400 on her dress and she was so grateful. "Thank you so much. This means everything to me." When Emma graduated high school, I was there cheering in the audience with Mom. Afterward, Emma ran to me first. "I did it," she said. "I'm going to college." She'd gotten into State University, the same school I'd attended. I was proud of her, and I was already planning to help with her tuition costs. It felt like everything was coming together. Emma would go to college, maybe become successful like I had. Mom would figure out her life eventually. We'd be okay. For 2 years, this was our life. I helped with Emma's college expenses, tuition, books, everything she needed. I took them on vacation. I bought Mom a new car. They were always so thankful, always telling me how much I meant to them. I was happy. After years of feeling like an outsider, I finally had the family I'd always wanted. Then Emma called me, hysterical, at 6 o'clock in the morning. "Mom's not waking up," she sobbed. "I think she's gone." I drove to the house as fast as I could, but it was too late. Mom was dead at 58. The doctor said her heart just stopped, no warning, no signs. One day she was fine, the next day she was gone. I handled all the funeral arrangements while Emma fell apart. She could barely function, so I took care of everything, the flowers, the service, all of it. What am I going to do without her? Emma kept asking. She was my best friend. "You have me," I told her. "We have each other." Emma went back to college for her finals, and I stayed to sort through Mom's things. That's when everything fell apart. The day after the funeral, I was in Mom's home office going through her papers when I found her will. I opened it, mad expecting to see how she divided things between Emma and me. Instead, I found that she'd left the entire house to Emma. My name wasn't mentioned anywhere in the document, not once. I stared at the papers, feeling sick. But then I saw something else on the desk, a handwritten letter addressed to Emma that wasn't in an envelope. Mom always wrote letters by hand and mailed them the old-fashioned way. I could see my name mentioned in the letter, so I couldn't help myself. I had to read it. The letter started normally enough. Mom wrote about how her heart had been bothering her lately and how worried she was about her health. But then it got worse. "If something happens to me," she wrote, "make sure you keep pretending that you love Dakota so she'll keep paying for your college. I know it's hard, sweetie, but just think of all that money. She's so desperate to be part of our family that she'll believe anything. Just like I am sick of her, I know you are too. I never loved her. Not really. We only put up with her because of what she could give us. Once you graduate and don't need her money anymore, you can cut her out of your life completely. She'll never understand that she was never really our family." I read it 3 times before it sank in. My hands were shaking. Everything, every apology, every hug, every thank you, had been fake. They'd been playing me for 2 years, pretending to love me just for my money. I couldn't stop myself from picking up Mom's phone, which was sitting unlocked on the desk. I went to her messages and found the conversation between her and Emma. What I read there made me feel physically sick. They called me their cash cow. They made fun of my clothes, my apartment, the way I talked. Emma wrote things like, "God, she's so pathetic. Always trying so hard to make us love her, and she actually thinks we're a real family now. It's disgusting." Mom responded with laughing emojis and comments like, "Just keep it up, honey. The money's too good to lose." In one message, Emma wrote, "I hate having to pretend I care about her stupid stories about work. She makes my skin crawl." Mom replied, "I know, sweetie, but think about your tuition payments. We can do this." I took screenshots of everything. I also photographed the handwritten letter with my phone. Then I put everything back exactly where I'd found it, the letter on the desk, the phone beside it, the will in its folder. I made it look like I hadn't touched anything. Then I went upstairs to the guest room and sat on the bed, staring at the ceiling. I felt completely empty inside. For 2 years, I thought I finally had the family I'd always wanted. But it had all been an act. They'd never changed. They'd just gotten better at pretending. I stayed in that room and waited. Emma would be coming home soon, and I wanted to see what she would do. Would she keep up the performance? Would she fake cry about Mom's death and beg me to keep supporting her? 2 weeks later, Emma came home from college. She'd passed all her finals, she told me over the phone, but she sounded exhausted and sad. I was still staying at the house, supposedly helping with Mom's affairs. But really, I was just waiting to see what Emma would do. "Dakota," she called when she walked in the front door. "Are you here?" In the kitchen, I replied, making myself a cup of coffee. My hands were steady now. The shock had worn off, replaced by a cold, empty feeling. Emma dropped her bags and ran to me, throwing her arms around me like she always did now. "I missed you so much." These past 2 weeks have been horrible. I keep wanting to call Mom. She started crying against my shoulder, and for a split second, I almost believed it was real. But then I remembered the text messages. She makes my skin crawl. I hate having to pretend I care about her. I know, I said, patting her back mechanically. It's going to take time. She pulled back and wiped her eyes. I'm so scared, Dakota. I don't know how to do any of this adult stuff. Mom handled everything, and now she's gone, and I still have 2 years of college left. Here it comes, I thought. I've been thinking, she continued, sitting down at the kitchen table. I inherit the house, right? But I can't afford to keep it. The mortgage payments, the utilities, the taxes, it's too much. And I still need money for school. What are you thinking of doing? I asked, sitting across from her. I don't know. Maybe I could rent out some rooms. She looked at me with those big, sad eyes that had fooled me for 2 years. Would you maybe consider helping me keep the house? I know it's a lot to ask, but you're all I have left in the world. We're family. Family? The word made me want to laugh, but I kept my face neutral. I've been looking at the numbers, she went on. If you could help with maybe $1,500 a month, I could cover the rest with rental income from the basement. And, of course, I'd still need help with tuition and living expenses at school. So, she wanted even more money now, not just the $1,000 a month I'd been sending Mom, but $1,500 plus college costs. I'd been undercharging for their fake love, apparently. That's a lot of money, Emma, I said. Her face crumpled. I know, and I hate asking, but I don't have anyone else. Mom's gone. Robert's gone. You're the only person who's ever really cared about me. The performance was flawless. If I hadn't seen those messages, I would have been reaching for my checkbook right now. Let me think about it, I said. Of course, I don't want to pressure you. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I just hope you know how grateful I am for everything you've done for us. You've been the best sister anyone could ask for. I wanted to throw up. That night, Emma went through Mom's office, supposedly looking for important documents. I watched from the hallway as she found the letter and read it, then quickly put it back. She picked up Mom's phone, scrolled through it for a few minutes, then set it down. The next morning at breakfast, she was back to her grieving sister act. I can't believe she's really gone, Emma said, stirring her coffee. I keep expecting her to walk downstairs and ask if I want pancakes. I couldn't take it anymore. I started laughing, not a small chuckle, but a real, loud laugh that made Emma look at me like I'd lost my mind. What's so funny? She asked. You, I said, still laughing. This whole performance. You can stop now, Emma. I know. Her face went blank. Know what? I took out my phone and showed her the text message screenshots. I am aware of your and Mom's true feelings for me. I am aware that this has all been a hoax. Emma's face became crimson and then white. She briefly gave the impression that she may try to refute it, but then her countenance changed. Her voice was rough and chilly now, and she said, So what? What if it wasn't real? Didn't you get what you wanted? For once in your pitiful life, you must feel like a member of the family. There was the real Emma, the pampered brat who had always detested me, not the kind, appreciative girl who had been embracing me and referring to me as sister. She went on, You're sick, and got up from the table, frantically attempting to purchase our affection with money. It was embarrassing to observe. I was trying to help you. Help. Emma gave a bitter laugh. You attempted to impose yourself on our family. Mom and I used to make fun of your desperation. How you would go to great lengths for our pleasant words. I fulfilled my commitment to Robert. Mom and Dad are both deceased, and I no longer need you. Now that the facade was gone, she was yelling. You were never necessary to me. You've always been disliked by me. I'm not your sister. To me, you're nothing. Calmly, Fine, I replied. Then you won't be getting any more money from me. All right. I'm not interested in your money. I am capable of caring for myself. I don't need a desperate loser attempting to purchase my love. Leave my residence immediately. So I did. After gathering my belongings, I got into my car and headed back to my apartment. I was oddly at ease. Although it was painful, the truth was preferable to living a falsehood. I learned about it via friends of friends over the course of the following few months. Emma, who was accustomed to having money to spend whatever she pleased, had attempted to rent out rooms in the house. Her lifestyle, educational costs, and mortgage were all beyond the rental income. I learned that she had sold the house 6 months later. She transferred part of the funds into her savings account and utilized the remainder to cover the outstanding balance of her college tuition. Emma, however, had never learned to save aside money or to deprive herself of anything. Friends informed me that she had spent the most of the funds on parties, vacations, and clothing within a year. What happened to her after graduating from college is unknown to me. I don't give a damn. She is not my family, my sister, or my issue. She was pretty explicit about that. I occasionally go to the cemetery where Robert and Dad are interred. I send Robert flowers and tell him about my life, including the guy I've been dating and the promotion I received last year. I believe he would be pleased with my development. Mom's grave is never visited by me. I can't say anything to her. Now that I'm 33, I've established a comfortable life for myself. My true friends value me for who I am, not for what I can provide. I work in a job I love, and I live in my own apartment. It's all right that I don't have a family anymore. It's sufficient that I have myself.